Hello everyone and welcome to my GH Full channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Gio and Emma wake up in bed together with no regrets about having sex. They kiss. They eventually eat the food Gio brought and Gio admits to anticipating her grandmother to walk through the door. Emma says that as uncomfortable as it would be, she actually misses Mom and wishes she would return home. Their conversation turns to the future. Gio aspires not just to find his own house, but also to return to PCU. However, he is unsure about his future plans, having always believed that music was his destiny. Emma has discovered her calling and decided to become a veterinarian. He is proud of her, but she points out that she too was unsure of what she wanted to do for a long time. She believes he can discover a new interest by returning to school. Hello again, Scarecrow. Anna wakes up in her cell/room to be given a blood treatment. She cries, "I'm not sure who you are. I need a doctor who understands my condition." She is taken aback as her vision clears and she realizes Auber is treating her. Anna understands they aren't friends, but they aren't enemies either, and she's confident Aubrek will not harm her or support these individuals. Auber adds, "He insisted." Anna shouts, "Faison has died." Auber chuckles, saying they both know better, that Faison will never let her go. After Anna passes out, we watch a woman exit the room and she is not Auber. The woman informs Pascal that the phlebotomy therapy is effective and that the other treatment convinced her she was Dr. Auber. Pascal comments, "Good, she's ready for the next phase." Auber pushes Britt at the hospital. Auber is pleased to see her daughter back as a doctor and hopes to resume running the hospital with Terry shortly given Portia's suspension. However, she has come to discuss Rocco's ice hockey schedule and believes they should purchase shirts to support him during his games along with those enormous fingers. Brick believes this is a poor plan because no one in Rocco's family wants them there, particularly Lulu. They go to the break room and Aubrek claims they are Rocco's family and Britt is his birth mother. But Britt reminds her that she is only a surrogate. Aubrek will not stop harping on the fact that Brick carried and gave birth to Rocco and she is important to the boy whether Lulu likes it or not. She begs her daughter not to repeat the mistake she did with her. Aubrek admits she is still angry at her daughter for faking her death, but she is also heartbroken that she missed out on becoming a mother when Britt needed her the most. Britt denies this, claiming that she was present when she believed she had died. Nonetheless, Aubrek realizes she squandered so much of her life on Faison and did not give her children the care they required. Alexis gives Kai and Trina advice in Alexis's office. Trina and Kai question Alexis about Willow's escape from attempted murder and whether she believes them. Alexis believes them, but she cannot provide the facts. It is Turner's responsibility. Her job is to provide Willow the greatest protection possible. They query about coming forward, worried Michael will be accused if Willow is acquitted. Alexis instructs them to do nothing until the jury has returned their judgment. Can Dante and Chase reconcile their friendship? Outside Bobby's, Dante confronts Chase again about the evidence tampering and Chase claims he would never do such a thing. Dante knows he believes Willow is innocent, but he wonders how far he will go to protect her. He also says that he needs to decide out how far he will go to protect Michael. Dante explains that he is having all of the information evaluated to see if they missed anything about Michael. Chase adds that if Willow is found guilty, Dante should continue his investigation because the only way to liberate her is to prove Michael was responsible. What else is new in Na and Drew's clash? Nina arrives at Drew and Willow's to surprise Willow with the day out. Drew claims she should have called first as Willow is not here because she went for a stroll. Na is delighted to have a time alone with Drew. She appreciates what he has done for her daughter by employing Alexis, but she will be responsible for her daughter moving forward. If Willow is found guilty, she wants her attorneys to handle the appeals. Drew accuses Nina of wanting Willow to be found guilty so she can intervene and save the day. She reminds him of his erratic performance on the stand, prompting Willow to testify and clean up his mess. If Alexis had been allowed to rest her case as she intended, the jury would have acquitted her daughter. Nina refuses to allow her daughter spend her life in prison for having the terrible taste of hooking up with him. What does Michael expect of Willow? Willow meets Michael at the Baden Cafe and he tells her why he phoned. He says they need to decide what to do with the children if she is proven guilty. He adds that there are programs for prison moms and he will make sure she has as much access to the children as possible. He also believes they should deliver the news to them together. Willow wonders what will happen to her newfound unity if she is proven not guilty. He thinks that's a different subject and he won't let their kids be near Drew. Willow receives the call. The jury has returned. Court is in session. Everyone starts coming at court. Justine informs Dante that she still believes Chase is the most likely suspect in the lost film. Kai approaches Michael and tells him that while Drew has been good to him, he disagrees with what Drew said on the stand about Michael. They shake hands as Drew enters and notices this. Chase, meanwhile, thanks Alexis for standing up for Willow and he knows that the lawyer like him understands Willow couldn't have done this. Willow is the last to appear and the court starts. The jury is called in after reaching a decision. In the show's last moments, the jury delivers its decision to the judge, who reads it to himself. In bed, Gio and Emma reminisce on how they've evolved from best friends to lovers, and he's confident that if anybody can help him discover his passion, it's her. They kiss. At the hospital, Aubrey informs Britt that Nathan and Rocco are her current priority. Britt begs her mother to order that hockey shirt for her, and Aubrey laughs and she already has. They embrace. In her room, Anna calls out to Aubrey, asking whether she is still there. She becomes alarmed when she notices an ashtray with a cigar on the table next to her. Faison's voice adds, "Don't be afraid. I've been watching over you." Willow is found not guilty by the jury. The tension in the Port Charles courthouse had been building for weeks, fueled by secrets, falsehoods, and an unwavering pursuit of justice. Or at least the version of it that the characters in this drama wanted the world to see. Willow King sat stiffly in her seat, hands folded tightly in her lap, nails pressing into her palms as she stared straight ahead. The room was alive with murmurs from the gallery. Nina Reeves, her mother, perched like a protective hawk beside her, Drew Caine, the man she had shot twice and who was now inexplicably her husband, watching her with a mix of calculation and something darker. Michael Corinthos, her ex, his face, a mask of barely contained rage, and Alexis Davis, the attorney who had defended her even as doubt noted at her conscience. The jury had deliberated, and now the time had come. The foreman rose, document in hand, his voice firm but heavy with the weight of a dozen lives about to change. We, the jury, find the defendant, Willow Tait-Caine, not guilty on all counts. A collective gasp sounded throughout the courtroom. Willow's shoulders dropped, not in relief, but from the sudden release of pressure that had kept her erect for so long. Not guilty. The words rang in her thoughts like a verdict from another life. She had pulled the trigger, witnessed Drew fall, and the system had failed to detect it or chosen not to. Double jeopardy now protects her eternally. There will be no retrial, no second chance to reveal the facts in that manner. Nina reached over and squeezed her daughter's arm with intense pride, murmuring something about how justice had conquered. Willow forced a faint, trembling smile, but inside she felt hollow. Drew turned to her, his countenance opaque, and leaned in so close that only she could hear. "We did it," he added, his voice low and personal, as if they were accomplices in a huge plan rather than victim and offender. Willow knew better. This was not a collaboration. It was survival, and the cost was just beginning to become apparent. As the judge banged the gavel to dismiss the court, anarchy broke out in controlled bursts. Reporters rushed forward. Cameras flashing. Michael stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly, and walked out without saying anything, shoulders tensed. Alexis gathered her documents slowly, her face pallid, aware that she had crossed a line she could never undo. She had remained silent about the facts Trina and Kai had presented to her. Evidence that could have changed everything because the alternative meant losing Scout, her grandchild. Willow walked free when ethics had bent under the weight of personal stakes. Willow was impacted hard by the chilly January air outside the courthouse. Drew grabbed her arm and guided her through the crowd, his grip firm but not cruel. "You'll be fine," he muttered. "Well, be fine," Willow said, pulling back slightly, her gaze returning to the structure where her fate had just been sealed. Freedom tasted terrible, tinged with the knowledge that Michael would never forgive her, and that her children, W.Y. and Amelia, would grow up hearing tales about what their mother had done. She had shot their father figure in a fit of wrath and desperation, and now she had to live under the falsehood that she was innocent. Meanwhile, distant from the courtroom drama, in the murky depths of Windmere on Spoon Island, Anna Dean fought a new kind of battle, one with her own mind. She'd been held captive for months, her world limited to a solitary room masquerading as a distant French-speaking retreat. Pascal, the calm, methodical man who attended to her needs, spoke only French, adding to the sense that she was thousands of miles from Port Charles. Sidwell, the orchestrator, stayed mostly hidden, manipulating strings from afar. Anna's polythemia vera flared up under the stress necessitating meticulous management, phlebotomy, and medication. But her captors only gave her enough care to keep her alive, not to thrive. That day, as the courthouse verdict was delivered in distant Port Charles, Anna woke to a fresh tragedy. She had been dreaming, or was it a hallucination, of Lisa Ulrich, her former rival and reluctant ally, administering treatment. However, when she opened her eyes, the room was empty except for a smoldering cigarillo in an ashtray. The aroma reminded her of a hidden memory. Caesar Faison. Her heart pounded. She called for Erect, but no one responded. Then the voice appeared, crackling from a hidden speaker, smooth and chillingly familiar. "Anna, don't be afraid. I've been watching over you." She paused, her instinct screaming that this was impossible. Faison was dead. She had killed him herself years before. Nonetheless, the voice persisted, mocking her with ancient secrets and reminding her of betrayals long ago. Pascal entered quietly and observed her reaction with clinical detachment. The next phase, he had informed the nurse earlier. This was it. Psychological torture designed to break her, to make her doubt reality until she was no more the bright, resourceful former WSB agent who could outmaneuver anyone. Anna's thoughts raced. She had already attempted to flee, faking a fall to draw Pascal closer, taking his rifle and battling like the warrior she had always been. But each attempt had been unsuccessful, leaving her weaker and more alone. Now this Faison or the perception of him had been her worst fear. The monster who had kidnapped her daughter Robin and turned love into addiction. If they could convince her that he was alive, watching and waiting, what else could they get her to believe? She paced the room, reminding herself to breathe steadily. The bleeding from her nose earlier was true. A symptom that had flared up, but she couldn't allow it to distract her. Pascal looked from the doorway, his face almost empathetic. He had been helpful in his own way, bringing books, food, and chatting gently in French, but compassion here was simply another tactic. She had to play along, gain strength, and wait. For the moment when the gaslighting failed. Back in Port Charles, the fallout was imminent. Drew and Willow returned to their home, which they had created through lies and deception. He poured drinks to celebrate their victory, but Willow looked into her glass and saw the reflection of the woman she had become. "What now?" she inquired calmly. Drew grinned a charming, dangerous smile. "Now we live. We raise the kids. We forget the past." But forgetting was difficult. Michael would fight for custody again, possibly with new ammunition. Na would hover, both protective and suspicious. Willow knew deep down that the truth would eventually come out. Perhaps not in court, but in the quiet moments when remorse crept in. In her cell, Anna perched on the edge of the bed, listening to the voice repeat its litany. "You will never be able to escape me, Anna." She closed her eyes and tried to remain calm. She'd survived worse. She'd outlived Faison once. If it were Pascal's game, she would learn the rules and use them against him. The torture was psychological undoubtedly, but Anna Dean had always been stronger than fear. For both ladies, days and nights blurred together. Willow negotiated awkward silences with Drew, suspicious looks from friends, and the anguish of missing her children. She paid them a visit under monitored conditions with Michael's lawyers hovering like sharks. She told herself she did what she needed to do to secure her future, but the justification was hollow. Meanwhile, Anna began to reject her hallucinations. She responded to the voice, disputing it and looking for flaws in the veneer. Pascal observed the change as his visits became more regular and his queries more sharp. He wanted to see how far he could push her before she snapped, but Anna refused to break. She planned, waited, and remembered who she was. In Port Charles, murmur circulated. Some believed Willow's innocence, but others saw through it. Dante questioned his own handling of the case. Chase provided discreet support, and Trina and Kai struggled with their silence. The town had moved on, but the scar lingered. Willow defined freedom as living with the knowledge that she had gotten away with it and that the bill would eventually come due. For Anna, captivity meant slowly losing her sanity while fighting not only her captors, but also the spirits they produced. Finally, both women faced their fates through a quiet accumulation of choices and consequences rather than dramatic showdowns. Willow walked free, but imprisoned by her own choices. Anna remained imprisoned, but her spirit refused to succumb. Port Charles turned, storylines entwined, and the drama played out as it always did. One verdict, one anguish, one frail stride forward at a time. The courthouse was colder than Willow remembered, despite the wood-paneled walls and polished benches, which should have made it pleasant and even comforting. Instead, the air felt piercing with each breath cutting against her lungs as she sat alongside her attorney, hands tightly folded in her lap. Willow's gaze remained fixed straight ahead, fearing that if she turned around, she'd collapse under the weight of everything. Today was not simply another hearing. Today was the day her fate would be determined. Drew sat stiffly across the aisle, his jaw set, his eyes dark with purpose and something far more dangerous, wrath. He hadn't looked at Willow since he entered the courtroom. And she wasn't sure if that stung more than him staring her down. Their history, once sweet and promising, now resembled a battlefield riddled with shattered promises and stinging regrets. Michael sat behind Willow, close enough for her to sense his presence as a steady anchor. Every now and then, she felt his eyes on her, protective, worried, and achingly conflicted. He tried to be tough for her, but she knew him too well. His quiet was filled with fear. When the judge entered, everyone in the room rose to their feet. Willow's heart hammered so loudly that she was certain everyone could hear it. The murmuring subsided as the judge took his seat, leaving behind an oppressive calm. The prosecution presented their closing arguments with merciless precision, portraying Willow as reckless, irresponsible, and unfit. Every syllable felt like a little cut. They brought up her past faults and weaknesses, twisting them into proof that she could never be trusted again. Willow's face remained neutral, but panic clawed at her chest. Her attorney stood next, calm and collected, dissecting the allegations one by one. He discussed Willow's development, resilience, and the struggle she had battled and overcome. He told the court of her dedication, sacrifices, and unwavering love. Willow felt a glimmer of optimism as he finished, but hope was a dangerous thing. The judge leaned back, his fingers steepled and his eyes impassive. Willow's breath caught as he started to speak. He acknowledged the case's complexities, contradicting testimony, and the emotional toll it had taken on all parties involved. His voice was steady, almost soothing, which only made matters worse. Willow braced herself, her claws sinking into her hands. When the ruling eventually arrived, it felt surreal, as if the words were floating past her rather than landing where they should. For a little while, she did not grasp what he was saying. Then it struck her all at once. Her fate was sealed. A gasp echoed around the courtroom. Michael jumped to his feet before catching himself. His face blanched. Drew's face stiffened, his eyes sparkling with triumph, and something darker. Satisfaction tinged with bitterness. Willow felt dizzy, her eyesight blurred, and tears threatened to fall. She had braced herself for the idea, telling herself she could handle it. But when reality struck, no amount of preparation mattered. The courtroom erupted in commotion as the judge slammed his gavel to signify the conclusion of the session. Conversations overlapped and emotions spilled forth unfettered. Willow remained seated and paralyzed until Michael softly caressed her shoulder. "We'll get through this," he said quietly, his voice trembling. She nodded, unable to speak for fear of screaming. Outside the courthouse, media flocked like vultures, asking questions and flashing cameras constantly. Michael sheltered Willow as best he could and guided her to the waiting automobile. Drew watched from a distance, his expression unreadable as Willow was led away. But the drama in Port Charles did not stop at the courthouse steps. Across town, Anna Dean paced the length of her living room, clutching her phone in one hand. She'd spent years fighting criminals, spies, and murderers, but nothing prepared her for the slow, methodical torture Pascal unleashed. It had begun slowly with anonymous notes and vague threats implying secrets known only to Anna and a small number of people. She initially dismissed them, believing they were an attempt to scare her, but soon the messages became more personalized. Her phone displayed photos from her past that she had not seen in years. Missions went wrong. Faces of those she could not save. Each image was accompanied by a single line of text that twisted the knife even further. "Do you remember this?" Anna's hand shook as she read through the most recent message. Pascal wasn't simply attempting to scare her. He was dissecting her piece by piece, forcing her to repeat every failure and regret. A tap at the door startled her. She instantly secured her phone and straightened her posture, forcing herself to maintain the controlled stance she had honed over decades. When she answered the door, Valentine stood there, his face etched with concern. "You didn't answer my calls," he replied quietly. "I was worried." Anna paused before stepping aside to let him in. When the door closed, the facade cracked. "He's in my head," she said with a hushed voice. "Pascal knows things that he shouldn't." "He's using my past against me," Valentine said, his jaw tightening. "Then we stop him." Anna laughed dryly. "If only it were so simple." "He does not want to be stopped. He wants me to break." Anna's phone buzzed as if on cue. She didn't need to peek to see who it was from, but she did anyway.